Okay, different part of the Highlands play area today, and today I've put something with a bit of rough terrain, so I'm going to give this a go with the ZD Racing ZMT-10. Now this looks very similar to another 10th scale one that I did from ZD Racing, but this one's sort of an upgraded one, I would say, with the spec on it. I'll put a link to the other one in description for you, so you can go and check out that review as well. And the reason I'm bringing this to you now is that at the moment they've got a special offer on, and this one, the upgraded one with all the extras on, which I'll run through, is exactly the same price as the sort of lower grade one, so they must have a load of stock of these or something or other. Only runs for another few days, but so if you're after one, I'd sort of dive in pretty quick. Put a link in description as per normal. Okay, so what are we finding here? Well, it's pretty nice looking high-rise body, got a reasonable amount of ground clearance there, looking pretty good sort of thing. Suspension seems pretty well set up. She doesn't bounce back up when you drop her down and everything, and pretty much a normal sort of setup for them. Oil-filled shocks, as you can see in there, and a lot of metalwork on it. You've got the metal dog bones, metal cups. It's a pretty reasonable spec machine, and certainly for the money at the moment, I think it's really good. Metal plate right along the bottom as well, which is really good, and I'm videoing this now because afterwards, after I've been over all this sort of stuff, this will probably be scored to pieces, but it won't be wrecked. It's quite a thick plate as well, so it's got quite a bit of protection in there. The transmitter is actually the same as its normal spec, sort of from ZD. Pretty simple to operate. Turn it on and off, turn this on, and obviously turn the car on. If you want to go forward, you pull this and it will go forward. If you want to go backwards or stop, you push it to there and it will stop it. Bring it back to centre, then go fully pushing it forward and the vehicle will go backwards. If you want to turn right, turn it that way. If you want to turn left, turn it that way. You can reverse all these things, but it is actually set up correctly. It's already bound, and on this one we've actually got steering trim and throttle trim, and then we've got dual rates on the actual steering, and I'll show you that when we actually fire it all up. So I'm going to pop the body clips off and then show you the inside. Now, first things first, big error here. My mate came round to borrow a battery the other day, and I said, yeah, sure, take the one on the top. I was a bit busy at the time. He took the one off the charger and then went off with it. He's now abroad because he's taken his son away to go and play with their cars, and he's taken the battery that actually came with this. So what you normally get is a 2,600 milliamp hour battery that fits into here, and the cable comes out through here and attaches to there. What I've done is fit a different battery, and it's a ZD Racing one, just through here, drilled a couple of holes, and so I could just put their other style of battery in, which has removable leads here, so at least I could come out and run it. If not, by the time he gets back, the offer will be off, so you would have missed it. So I just thought I'd get that out for you. So plug it all in. It's actually worked out well how it's all wired in. On-off switch here, there we go, and you can hear it all coming to life. And then obviously turn on the transmitter as well. Brushless motor, and pretty similar to the other spec, and I'll put the specs down at the bottom for you. But this one actually has a 60 amp ESC, and the lower grade one only has a 45 amp ESC. Cooling, and like I say, it's supposed to be fully waterproof sort of thing. Whether or not I'll give it a full immersion, I don't know. But I would certainly say splash proof, but they do say waterproof, so they're usually pretty honest about it. The tyres are foam filled, and they're actually they just feel quite nice. They're not the deepest in the world, to be perfectly honest, but they are, yeah, I think they're going to be pretty okay, and they've just got that really nice sort of feel to them. There's enough grip there to give you grip, and enough foam there to sort of stop it really denting in, but to give it the ability to grip. I hope that doesn't bite me. And like I say, oil-filled shocks all the way around. Okay, turn on the transmitter. You've got really bright LEDs here. We're ready to bind up, and it's already bound up, so you don't have to do anything with it. Nice thing is with a high body and up out the way is, I don't know whether the head cam will get in there, but I can actually now flick it on, get my hand in, no problem at all, and then that's us ready to go. Now, explaining about the dual rates on the steering. So if I turn the steering, it goes right the way. It's got that sort of much steering. Let me just put it on somewhere where I can show you. There we go. So we've got quite a reasonable sort of amount of steering there. If I turn this right down and I fully turn it now, we virtually get nothing at all, sort of thing. So I'm going to leave it cranked right up. The trim is adjusting. If you run it away and then run it back towards you and it's drifting, what you need to do is just adjust the steering trim, and if it's starting to run forward before you've actually given it an accelerator or throttle, you can then adjust the throttle as well. But actually it seems pretty much set up, so let's just see how we get on. Well, and actually, saying ZD aren't that out that fast. It certainly is. I would say it was a lot better than the other one straight away. Actually, it's taken no prisoners. It's only a 2-cell battery as well, which I must admit the bigger ones tend to run out at a sort of 3-cell or even 4-cell or higher. And even that first little run round, no scratches at all. It's actually really good. And this grass is viciously long, as you can see. Whoa! I'm actually running all right. Nice, it is lovely and controllable. You watch me louse it up now. Whoa! When you can't see it and you just give it loads of steering, it works really well actually. Woohoo! It copes really well. Whoa! And back out again with no damage. Well, we hope so. Really coping well. And like I say, on offer, it's pretty reasonable for the money, I think. We do like a bargain. Copes really well. Except for when there's a huge bit of grass. But I think it's coping really nicely, doing absolutely superb. Right, I'm going to get the other camera and then give it a go with that. Okay, so 10 batteries under my belt on this one, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. That's why it's had the full works done on it, basically. It's really good fun. It's got enough go in it to be fun, actually. And the thing I liked about it was just that long, tall grass at one of the places I was running it at. It just went through it. I've had other ones get bound up in it or not make it over it or anything, but it really handles quite well. I'm really impressed for only a 2-cell running on it. It's pretty impressive, I think. So let's have a look around it after sort of 10 batteries, like I say. Couple of things I've had to do. The wheelie bar was just catching onto the back bit of the body shell there, so I just cut that a little bit more. And you might notice on some of the footage that I'm running there, sort of the actiony stuff, it looks very sort of nose light, sort of tail heavy. It does naturally run like that, actually. It is just slightly up on the front. I did adjust the shocks to try and get it as a level runner, but it really doesn't want to. It's still just very light at the front, shall we say. But what makes it look a lot worse was the front of the body shell was right up here, so it's literally just on the first holes here. Basically cut a big chunk out of there and then it just sits nicely down, and now it looks a lot more level. I think it looks a lot better, but having checked their website, that seems to be how they supply it, actually. So it's just very easy to do. I did remember this time to actually put some tape round. It's just cloth tape, just whack it round, and any spashes and that shouldn't actually shatter it, and if it does, it'll keep it together. But honestly, it's done really well, and it's been over quite a few times. The only thing I didn't do was I usually run a bit of tape down here as well, and that would stop these splits here. I've just got 2 tiny little splits, but that's all that's happened, and it's done really well, I think. Onto the actual car itself, and this is the way the battery should come out if your mate doesn't actually walk off with the battery that you're supposed to be using. And I think I did mention it was 2,600 milliamp hour. Looking up the paperwork, it's 2,400 milliamp hour. But you've got a massive battery bay area here. You could probably get something like a 4,000 in there. I've certainly put a 3,000 in there, no problem at all, with loads of space. So, when I ran it on 2,400s, I was getting just about 15 minutes. So it was about the run time. And if you run it till it literally stops, so it's gone really slow, you've noticed it, and then it literally stops, the battery cell voltage drops down to about 3.3. It was the worst I had one, so it's not going to damage your battery if you literally run it right out. So but you can feel it about a minute before it starts to get just a little bit slower, and then you notice you're not getting all the power through, sort of thing. Had no issues with it at all. I've given it a quick wash off as well and started it back up, and it is waterproof, and it does seem to have waterproofing on it, certainly. No issues with it whatsoever. Range, you'll see on one of them I ran it right the way up the drive. That's just over 80 meters, and if I do the turn further on, it's getting on for the best part of 100 meters, and it probably goes further than that. I had no issues with range at all. I just find it a bit boring when it's that far away. I don't think it's much fun, to be honest. If you put a little FPV camera on it, it might be a little bit better, and then you'd run it further. But I've got no reason to disbelieve. They quote 150 meters, and I'm sure it would do. So everything's looking pretty good. Let me just turn it over and look. After all those batteries and bashing it around and everything, we've got the normal sort of scrapes on here. There's no guards there, but actually I haven't had any issues with that at all. And also this metal plate on the base has been absolutely fine, and it's got a few gouges in it, but it's actually held up really well. And you can see she sort of runs a bit nose light because there's hardly any marks here. Everything's scuffed in down the bottom. But I didn't notice any problems with the steering. Was really good. The tyres are superb. The wheels are nice on it as well for what it is. I mean, it's not an expensive one, like I say, just over the £100. Okay, so I'm just going to compare these up. The reason I'm comparing them is A, they're from the same manufacturer, and B, at the moment they're running out at about exactly the same price. This one's got a massive discount on it at the moment, so I'm going to run through the specs with them. I have found this one a wee bit cheaper if you hunt around on the web, but when you look at the components difference, this one's still a way better deal in my opinion. So just going to pop the body shells off, and we got the ZMT-10, which is the one I've been doing the review on, obviously, and this is the ZXT-10, and both 10th scale, as you can see. Totally different tyres, totally different setup actually. The motors are different as well. We've got a nice 3660 3500 on here, and this one's running a 3650 3300, so there's a huge difference there in the performance. And also we've got a 60 amp on this one, and we've got a 45 amp on this one, ESCs. So both fully waterproof, and I have had this one more submerged than this one, but like I say, I gave this one a good wash off, and it's all working fine. I think their waterproofing is pretty good anyway. The other main difference is there's a lot of plastic work on this one, and the granddaughter actually likes this one and runs this quite a lot in the garden. We have had this pop out a couple of times, and it just pops back in, so it hasn't actually done any damage, but this one is all metalwork basically. The actual shocks as well are exactly the same, so they're a similar setup, but this one's way better value for money and a lot faster as well than this one, and it seems to handle things a lot better as well. But that's obviously my opinion. You have a look at the reviews and see what you think. Hope you've enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.